Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Complicated situation with my stepdaughter's wedding. Throwaway because my family uses Reddit and I, male, 51, don't want them finding this. Sorry in advance for the length, but I honestly don't know if I'm overreacting or if I have a right to feel hurt here. About 17 years ago, I met my now wife, Elaine, female, 48, through a mutual friend at a business networking event. I own a construction company I built after dropping out of college. Elaine and I dated for about 2 years before getting married, and she has a daughter, Caitlin, who was 11 when we first met. So I've been in Caitlin's life since she was 11, and she's now 28. Her biological dad, Wayne, male, 50, pretty much walked out when she was 7. He's been, well, let's just say unreliable, would be putting it nicely. Guy barely paid child support. Elaine had to take him to court multiple times, and would only show up for the big moments like graduations, where he could play the proud dad for a few hours before disappearing again. This dude would literally promise Caitlin everything and then deliver nothing. Like, he promised to take her to Disney World 3 separate times when she was a kid. Each time, she'd get all excited, tell all her friends, pack her bags, and then he'd call the day before with some excuse about his car breaking down or some emergency coming up. I offered to take her myself after the 3rd time, but she said it wouldn't be the same, which, yeah, that stung a bit. Despite me trying really hard to build a relationship with Caitlin over the years, paid for her private high school, college tuition, bought her first car, etc., she's always been kind of distant with me. Not rude or anything, just reserved. Meanwhile, she's always idolized Wayne. She literally kept a photo of him on her nightstand all through high school, even though he'd miss her birthday 3 years in a row. Anyway, fast forward to about 8 months ago, Caitlin and her boyfriend Tyler, male, 28, who's an accountant, came over for dinner to announce their engagement. We were all excited, popped champagne, the whole thing. Later that night, I pulled Caitlin aside and told her I wanted to give her $200,000 for her dream wedding, no strings attached. I mean, I've done well with my business, and I wanted to do something special for her. You should have seen her face. She actually hugged me, like a real hug, not one of those awkward side hugs she usually gives me. It felt like maybe we were finally connecting after all these years. She was crying and everything, saying thank you over and over. It was honestly one of the best moments I've had with her. But then things got weird. Over the next few months, I noticed Caitlin hired this fancy wedding planner, but kept forgetting to include me in any of the vendor meetings. I didn't want to be overbearing or anything, so I didn't push it at first. I figured maybe she just wanted to handle things with her mom. Then about 3 months ago, I accidentally overheard her on the phone with the caterer when I came home early from work. She was telling them that her father would be handling all the payments, and it was clear from her tone she wasn't talking about me. I was confused, but didn't say anything right then. Later that week, I saw Caitlin had posted photos on Instagram of her and Wayne touring wedding venues together. The captions were about planning her special day with the most important man in her life and being blessed to have a dad who would do anything for her. I was really hurt by this, so I finally confronted her when she came over for Sunday dinner. I tried to be casual about it at first. I mentioned I'd noticed she was checking out venues with Wayne and asked if she was telling vendors that he was paying for the wedding instead of me. She got uncomfortable and tried to say she meant her father figure collectively. When I showed her the Instagram posts, she got defensive and emphasized her right to include her real dad in her wedding. I asked if she wanted Wayne to pay for the wedding instead of me. After hesitating, she admitted she wanted Wayne to both pay and walk her down the aisle. She explained she thought it would help heal their relationship after years of being distant and that he was trying to make up for lost time. It hurt a lot. But I told her I understood her wanting to connect with her biological father. I said I'd step back from the wedding planning if that's what she wanted. She seemed relieved and said she was going to tell me eventually, but hadn't found the right time, though I'm pretty sure she never would have if I hadn't brought it up. When I told Elaine about it later, she seemed torn. She knows Wayne's history better than anyone, but she just said, "I appreciate you being understanding about Caitlin's choice." I think she's worried about getting in the middle. For the past few weeks, Wayne's been posting all over Facebook about giving his princess the wedding she deserves, and Caitlin keeps sharing these posts about her perfect father-daughter wedding planning experience. Here's the thing that's really bothering me, though. Wayne has never been financially stable. The guy has bounced between jobs every couple years, has declared bankruptcy twice that I know of, and literally couldn't afford consistent child support. I seriously doubt he can afford a $200,000 wedding. I mentioned these concerns to Elaine, and she asked me to be the bigger person and keep the money available just in case things fall through with Wayne. I agreed to keep the funds set aside, but I made it very clear I'm not going to be the financial backup plan if Wayne fails to deliver on his promises. Again, I don't know. Am I being petty? Should I just shut up and keep the money ready for when Wayne inevitably doesn't come through? Or am I right to feel like I'm being used as the backup wallet while Wayne gets to play the hero dad? I've tried so hard with this kid for 17 years, and it feels like none of it matters compared to the guy who couldn't be bothered to show up for her life. Edit. Since so many people are asking, no, I never legally adopted Caitlin. Elaine and I discussed it when we first got married, but Wayne wouldn't sign away his parental rights. And Caitlin seemed uncomfortable with the idea anyway, so we dropped it. To clarify about Wayne's finances, the guy literally asked me for a loan 2 years ago to start a business, some MLM scheme. I politely declined. He bought a Mustang last year, though, so there's that. Now for the first update. So I didn't expect to be posting an update so soon, but holy moly, things have completely spiraled in the past 2 months. For those asking, yes, I kept the money set aside. I guess deep down, I knew Wayne would flake, like he always does, and something would happen. I just didn't expect it to blow up my entire marriage along with the wedding. So about 8 weeks before the wedding date, which is coming up really soon now, I started getting these random calls from vendors. At first, it was just 1 or 2, the florist and then the DJ. They were super apologetic, but said they were having trouble reaching the father of the bride about scheduled payments, and someone had given them my number as a backup contact. I was confused at first, but politely redirected them to contact Caitlin or Wayne. I mean, they made it very clear that Wayne was handling everything, so I figured it wasn't my place to get involved, right? I didn't even mention it to Elaine because I didn't want to stir up drama if it was just a miscommunication. But then the calls kept coming. More vendors. Then the wedding planner herself called, saying she was having trouble reaching Wayne about the final venue payment. I still kept redirecting them, but I was starting to get this sinking feeling in my stomach. Then, last Thursday, literally 10 days ago, I got this panicked call from the venue manager while I was in the middle of a really important meeting with potential investors. Sorry for all the background, but I swear it's relevant. The venue guy was basically freaking out, saying they needed a $50,000 payment within 48 hours or they'd have to cancel Caitlin's reservation and book another wedding. Apparently, they'd been trying to reach Wayne for weeks. I had to step out of my meeting, which was potentially worth millions to my company, by the way, and I told the guy I'd call him back. I tried calling Caitlin, but she didn't pick up. Same with Elaine. I was honestly getting worried something had happened to them. About an hour later, I'm trying to salvage my meeting when my assistant comes in, saying my wife and stepdaughter are in the lobby and it's an emergency. I had to end the meeting early, basically tanking a huge opportunity, but whatever. When I got to the lobby, both Elaine and Caitlin were literally in tears, like full-on mascara running down their faces crying. We went to my office, and that's when Caitlin told me Wayne had basically disappeared. Apparently, he'd stopped responding to her calls and texts for the past 2 weeks, and all the vendors were threatening to cancel because of missed payment deadlines. What followed was, well, it wasn't pretty. I'll try to remember as much as I can. Caitlin was sobbing and told me she needed help with the payments because everything was falling apart. When I asked what happened to Wayne, since he was supposed to be paying, she admitted he was having temporary cash flow issues, but promised he'd pay her back once his investment came through. I pointed out that it seemed like he never actually had the money, which I had warned might happen. Caitlin got defensive, claiming she never officially declined my offer and just wanted her dad involved. I reminded her that she specifically told me she wanted Wayne to pay and walk her down the aisle instead of me. She started getting angry, saying that family is supposed to help each other when things go wrong. I suggested we could look at scaling down the wedding to something more affordable that I could help fund. Not the $200 extravaganza, but something nice. This made her really angry. She started screaming in my office that she deserved her dream wedding and that I was punishing her for wanting a relationship with her real dad. I stayed calm and offered a $50 loan instead of the full $200k gift I had originally offered. Then she said something really hurtful. She accused me of always being jealous of her relationship with her dad and that I was enjoying seeing him let her down. Then she stormed out saying she'd rather cancel everything than have a smaller wedding. After Caitlin left, Elaine stayed behind. She was still crying and basically begged me to reconsider. She kept saying that Caitlin had been dreaming about this wedding since she was a little girl and was completely heartbroken. I reminded Elaine that Caitlin had explicitly chosen Wayne over me, and while I was willing to help with a more modest wedding, I wasn't going to fund this huge celebration she had planned with Wayne. Elaine just looked at me with this, I don't even know how to describe it, disappointment, disgust. She said, "I thought you were better than this," and left. The next few days were insane. I started getting calls from family members, Elaine's sister, her cousins, even her parents, who I've always had a great relationship with, all of them urging me to just pay for the wedding and be the bigger person. It was pretty obvious Caitlin had been calling everyone with her version of events. I later found out from Elaine's brother, who's always been straight with me, that Caitlin was telling everyone I had pulled funding to punish her for wanting a relationship with her real dad, which is complete bullshit because I never actually gave her the money in the first place. Here's where things get even messier. About a week ago, Caitlin came over to our house to talk to Elaine while I was at work. She accidentally left her phone on our kitchen counter when she went to the bathroom. I know I probably shouldn't have looked, and I'm sure plenty of you will call me an asshole for this. But when her phone lit up with a text from her maid of honor saying, "Did he agree to pay yet?" I couldn't help myself. I scrolled through their conversation and found messages from months ago where Caitlin admitted she always had doubts about Wayne's ability to pay, but thought he would step up for once for her wedding. But the part that really got me was seeing texts from just after our big confrontation where she literally said, "If Wayne backs out, I can guilt William into paying. He has the money and will look like the bad guy if he doesn't save the day." I took photos of these messages before Caitlin came back for her phone. I didn't say anything to her about what I found. Things between me and Elaine have gotten really bad. She's been spending most of her time at Caitlin's apartment helping with wedding crisis management, as she calls it. When she is home, she makes these little comments like, "If you really loved me, you would do this for my daughter." And, "After 15 years, I thought you considered Caitlin your own daughter." I tried to show Elaine the text messages I found, but she accused me of invading Caitlin's privacy and refused to even look at them. That hurt. We've always been honest with each other, and now she won't even consider that Caitlin might be manipulating the situation. 2 nights ago, Elaine didn't come home until 3 a.m. When I asked where she'd been, she said she was sorting out the mess he created with Caitlin. Not the mess Wayne created, the mess I created. That's when I suggested we might need marriage counseling, but she refused, saying the only problem in our marriage was my unwillingness to support Caitlin. The final slap in the face came yesterday when I saw the seating chart for the wedding on Elaine's laptop, which she left open on our kitchen table. Despite Wayne's complete disappearance from wedding planning and his failure to pay for anything, Caitlin still has him walking her down the aisle. And guess where I'm sitting? With Elaine's cousin's ex-husband and some random family friends at a table near the back. Not even at the family table. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. Part of me wants to just write the damn check to save my marriage. But another part of me feels like this is such a massive manipulation that I can't give in. I've spent 17 years trying to be a good father figure to this girl, and this is what it comes down to. Being the wallet when her real dad disappoints her again. Am I crazy for standing my ground here? Is my marriage over if I don't pay for this wedding? I feel like I'm losing my mind. Edit. To answer the most common questions, no. Wayne hasn't reached out to me directly, and as far as I know, he's still completely MIA. According to Elaine, he's not answering anyone's calls. Edit 2. Several people have asked if the wedding is still happening without the venue payment. Honestly, I have no idea. From what little Elaine has told me, Caitlin is exploring options, whatever that means. The wedding is supposed to be in 6 weeks. Edit 3. Yes, I'm still keeping the $200k set aside for now. I know that probably sounds stupid given everything that's happened, but I guess part of me is still hoping for some kind of resolution that doesn't completely destroy my family. Now for the second update. So it's been about 3 weeks since my last update, and holy moly, I don't even know where to start. Things have completely fallen apart, but also somehow worked themselves out in the weirdest way possible. So after everything I wrote about last time, Caitlin basically launched what felt like a full-scale smear campaign against me. She started calling basically every member of our extended family with these crazy stories about how I've apparently always resented her and tried to come between her and her real dad. She even dug up past disagreements from years ago, completely twisting what actually happened to make me look like this evil stepdad who's been plotting against her. My phone was blowing up with calls from people I barely even talked to. Elaine's second cousins, her aunt, even Elaine's 80-year-old grandmother who barely knows how to use a phone. All of them telling me I need to do the right thing and stop punishing Caitlin for wanting a relationship with her real father. I mean, seriously. The worst part was discovering that Caitlin had created this family group chat called Family Wedding Crisis that specifically excluded me. I only found out about it when Elaine left her phone on the counter, and I picked it up when it rang, thinking it might be important. There were like 35 notifications from this group chat I'd never seen before. I didn't read through everything, learned my lesson about snooping, I guess, but I saw enough to realize they were all discussing me. Elaine has been sleeping in our guest room for the past 2 weeks. We're barely speaking. When we do talk, it's like, I don't know, like we're strangers or something. 17 years of marriage and suddenly we can't even look at each other. She keeps saying things like, I don't even know who you are anymore. And I never thought you'd punish a child for loving her father, which is complete BS, by the way. I never punished Caitlin for anything. I just refused to be the backup wallet when Wayne inevitably flaked out after she specifically told me she didn't want my money. Anyway, about a week after my last post, Caitlin called me directly, first time in like a month, and basically threatened to uninvite me from the wedding entirely unless I agreed to pay the full $200,000 with no conditions. I told her I'd still be willing to help with a more modest wedding, but I wasn't going to fork over that kind of money after everything that had happened. She hung up on me mid-sentence. Then I found out through this guy Mark, who works with me, that apparently Caitlin and Tyler have been fighting non-stop about all this wedding drama. According to Mark, Tyler had been suggesting they scale back their plans to something more reasonable considering the circumstances. Honestly, that made me feel a little better. At least someone was being sensible about the whole thing. So here's where it gets really interesting. 4 days ago, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer it, but something told me I should. It was Wayne. Yeah, the supposedly missing in action bio dad himself. The conversation went something like this. Obviously not word for word, but you get the idea. Wayne starts off super awkward, like he's calling an old buddy or something. I didn't have patience for small talk, so I just asked him directly why he promised to pay for a wedding he obviously couldn't afford. He hesitated for what felt like forever, then said he never actually promised to pay for everything. I was confused and asked why Caitlin had been telling everyone he was paying then. That's when he told me she begged me to play along with the story. Apparently, Wayne told Caitlin months ago that there was no way he could afford such an expensive wedding. But according to him, Caitlin assured him it was just for show and that I would end up paying in the end. He actually apologized, saying he got caught up in looking like the hero dad for once, but that he felt guilty about the whole thing blowing up. I asked if he had any proof of this arrangement because honestly, it sounded too crazy even for this situation. He said he could forward me their text conversation from a few months back. About 10 minutes after we hung up, my phone dinged with screenshots from Wayne. There were texts going back months where Caitlin explicitly told Wayne, "Don't worry about the money. Just pretend you're paying. When you back out at the last minute, William will have to step in. He has the money, and he'll look like the bad guy if he doesn't save the day." There were like a dozen messages laying out this whole plan. She even wrote, "Mom will make sure he pays up when the time comes," in one of them. I couldn't fucking believe what I was reading. All this time, while I was feeling guilty and questioning if I was being petty, She had planned this whole thing from the beginning. I immediately called Elaine and asked her to come home for an important conversation. She initially refused. We weren't exactly on speaking terms, but when I mentioned I had spoken with Wayne and had actual evidence of what was really going on, she agreed to come home. When she got home, I showed her the text messages. At first, she didn't believe they were real. She accused me of fabricating them somehow. But as she read through all of them, she started crying and kept saying, she wouldn't do this. Caitlin wouldn't do this. After Elaine calmed down a bit, we decided we needed to confront Caitlin together. We invited her and Tyler over for dinner the next night, telling them we wanted to discuss a compromise about the wedding. When they arrived, things started off tense but civil. I calmly asked Caitlin to explain exactly what her plan had been regarding the wedding finances. She stuck to her story that Wayne had let her down again, and that I should step in as her stepfather. Elaine asked point blank if Caitlin had ever actually expected Wayne to pay for anything. Caitlin got super defensive, saying she had hoped he would change and be a real father for once. That's when I revealed I had spoken with Wayne. Her face immediately changed, like you could literally see the panic setting in. When I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshots he had sent me, she went completely pale. Tyler looked shocked. Based on his reaction, I'm 100% certain he had no idea about any of this. He kept looking between the phone and Caitlin saying, "What is this? What did you do?" Caitlin tried claiming the texts were fake or taken out of context. I pulled up the message history on my phone showing they were authentic. Wayne had sent them as actual screenshots, not just copy-pasted text. That's when she completely lost it. Lost it. She started screaming that everyone was against her, that I had turned her mother against her, that we were all trying to ruin her special day. Tyler tried to calm her down, but she literally pushed him away. She stormed out of our house, fall, shouting that the wedding was canceled and it was all my fault. Slammed the door so hard a picture fell off the wall. After Caitlin left, Tyler stayed behind and apologized to us. He said he had absolutely no idea about Caitlin's plan and had been under the impression this whole time that Wayne had genuinely offered to pay, but then disappeared. He looked completely devastated. Poor guy. The next few days were absolute chaos. Caitlin refused to speak to either me or Elaine. She was posting these vague, dramatic statuses on Facebook about finding out who your real family is, and some people will stab you in the back the moment you're vulnerable. About a week later, Tyler called to say that Caitlin was willing to have a scaled-down wedding if Elaine and I would help with some of the costs. After talking it over, Elaine and I agreed we would contribute $50,000 total toward a more modest celebration, but only if Caitlin acknowledged what she had done and apologized. The apology we got wasn't exactly heartfelt. It was more like, "I'm sorry things got out of hand," rather than, "I'm sorry I manipulated everyone and tried to extort $200,000 from you while destroying your reputation." But honestly, at that point, I was just ready for the whole nightmare to be over. So the wedding happened last weekend. A small ceremony in Elaine's sister's backyard with about 50 guests. Total cost was around $30,000. And guess what? Wayne showed up for the ceremony looking all uncomfortable in a rented tux. But surprise, surprise, he disappeared before the reception even started. Didn't contribute a single dollar to any costs. Some things never change. During her wedding speech, Caitlin thanked both me and Elaine for helping make this day possible despite our disagreements. Not exactly an apology, but I guess it's something. Tyler made a point of coming over to me during the reception and thanking me personally, which I appreciated. Elaine and I have started marriage counseling. Our relationship took a serious hit from all this, and we're trying to rebuild. The counselor says it's going to take time to process all the hurt feelings on both sides. From what I hear through Elaine, Caitlin and Tyler are struggling a bit with some residual wedding debt from deposits they lost when they scaled everything back. I don't feel great about that, but actions have consequences, you know. We had a family dinner last night, first one since the wedding. Caitlin was quieter than usual, almost subdued. She actually asked me about my business for the first time in years, which was weird but nice, I guess. Maybe it's the beginning of her realizing she messed up. I don't know. I'm still hurt by everything that happened, but I'm trying to leave the door open for some kind of reconciliation, mainly for Elaine's sake. But I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to be a lot more cautious about financial support in the future. Thanks for letting me vent. Reddit,